I want to go back to what you were saying about how, despite being in health communications and like knowing theoretically and cognitively that psychotherapy is good for self-care, there's nothing wrong. There's no shame in seeking out mental health services. And in fact, it can help people thrive. Can you say more about why you avoided it for yourself?
Yeah. It felt like something that I should do, that I was subconsciously nervous about. And the more I avoided it, the more I avoided it, if that makes sense. I think that it also got caught up in a little bit of shame as well, because there has frequently been a narrative where I feel like the should do's. I should be able to do laundry without losing an afternoon. I should tell my mom that I've been dating my partner for 2 years. I should seek therapy because I know that I would benefit from it. Then when I have felt stuck about that thing and unable to start it, there's a lot of like self-criticism that happens, where the refrain is almost like, how come you're not an adult enough to just like pull yourself together and do this? And then that furthers it, where I'm even less likely to do the thing that I should do.
Yeah. And can you tell what makes you believe that so this, first off, can you tell where that voice of self-criticism is coming from? Like, when did you start being self-critical about things that you should do?
Some of it came later in life. I mean, I've always held myself to really high standards and had that kind of perfectionist tendency, I think, is what relates to it. But weirdly, the health communication stuff, like there's a lot of anti-anxiety kind of methods that you read about, or that I inherited from my family. My parents might have told me something as like a tactic that they thought would help. And I feel like those methods didn't work the way that they should have worked, that people said that they worked for other people.
Can you give me an example? Is there anything coming to mind off the top of your head that you thought something should work, and when it didn't, you felt shame and self-criticism?
Yeah. Sleep. That's something that, like, you get enough sleep. And I, all through my early 20s, like I definitely didn't get enough sleep, but probably I was doing fun things. and then I had my first job, and I would be really tired and anxious during the day. And there was a point where I was like, oh, I just need to sleep more, duh. But it became an issue, because then I had an app where for like 3 years straight, I tracked my sleep every night. It told you like the quality of how well you slept, and I would look at that every morning, and I would start to really kind of like be anxious about how much time I was going to sleep in advance. So every night I would be feeling really stuck and unable to get off my couch and start getting ready for bed, because I would already be worried about how much I would sleep. And I'd be counting down like, okay, if I start getting ready for bed now, then maybe I can sleep for 7 hours. And then an hour would go past where it would just get harder and harder to break myself out of that cycle. And like sleep on its own is a thing that people need to do, and that probably does help me not be anxious. But
it sounds like you were stuck in a paradox.
Yeah.
Like the more perfectly you were trying to sleep, the harder it was to make the conditions likely for your body to fall asleep.
Exactly.
And yes, and the sleep and anxiety are so similar. So I'll just reinforce this message that just like with anxiety, the paradoxical effort that actually Sally Winston talked about a lot a couple episodes back is that the more you try to make it go away, the more likely it is to occur. And so you're, rather than trying to make it go away, you're trying to cultivate an attitude that makes it likely that you can bring your anxiety along, or that you can, do your value-based activity with the anxiety there, and it'll likely peak and pass when you're not resisting against it. So similarly, with sleep, you're trying to just make the conditions likely for your body to fall asleep because your body knows how to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I can imagine way back when that wasn't quite the message you were hearing, and you were just trying to control the experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and getting really compulsive about how much time, and yeah, control is for sure a big thing. Hence the tracking with the app.
Yeah, and then getting back to the self-criticism, you tried more and more to control. When you couldn't control it, you were saying, I should be able to do this, and because I can't, now I'm self-critical and ashamed.
Mm-hmm.